players are just about to get started, go ahead and start Kaiser v Kaiser for these grand finals. Candlelit Sanctum and Targon's Peak will be the battlefield selections for this first game one.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. I think Targon's a pretty standard one. We know Kaiser likes to be able to do things on her opponent's turn, so having something like the Targon's Peak is really good. Candlelit Sanctum is a slightly different choice. I like it. I think it's good. You'd like to be able to filter through your deck, figure out what you've got coming up, and get rid of things that you don't really need in certain spots. Rough start for Sleepless. Not having a 2-drop really hurts, and then just spending your second turn just to bring out an unaccelerated Kaiser is certainly not the kind of start you're looking for. We see Jibbs nicely gets a 2-drop out with the Watchful Sentry. He'll be able to score the first points of the game. So yeah, be interested to see where he goes from here. We could also see him match with an accelerated Kaiser of his own potentially with the 5 runes, given he went second. But yeah, certainly interesting to see where we go from here.
Yeah, we will see. It looks like he could go ahead and do what you said and play out the Kaiser Survivor of his own. Just prepare to try to match him. This is a mirror match, of course, but perhaps he tries to think one step ahead, develop a board even stronger. Maybe one Raven Bloom plus a Noxus Hopeful is the ideal turn for him. So getting 4 runes done the other way, getting 2 units for his troubles, readying one for Targon's Peak. So what an optimal turn from Jibbs so far.
Yeah, as a Kaiser player, this is the kind of hand you dream of, really. If you can go Watchful Sentry into Student into Hopeful, it's an unbelievable start. I think really nice tech there using the Sentry first. I think playing the Sentry on turn 1, just because then if you send it into battlefield and it dies, you're not too sad about it. We do see him go in here and potentially match with the Void Seeker and the retreat on the Kaiser. So really interesting here. He does channel the rune, so we could potentially see the Kaiser come back down accelerated because we do have 5 runes left for Sleepless. So it'll be interesting if he tries that play. Now that Jibbs is fully tapped out, he knows it's safe to go in. But yeah, this has been a really strong opening hand from Jibbs here to keep the pressure on.
And he did retreat the Kaiser, and she can come in with that additional cost with Accelerate. So could he decide to do it again? Go after the Sentry. You kind of negate them getting 1 whole point, but goes for the Stupefy. I'm smelling a potential falling stars coming down.
Yeah, I think this is looking like a falling star. Absolutely. So I think we've seen this has been one of the most impactful cards of the set. I think this is one of the core reasons why Kaiser is as strong as she is. It is just such powerful removal. The fact it hits base still blows my mind.
Right.
But it's the way Riot designed it. But yeah, really good turn. It just completely stalls what Jibbs was hoping to do. He was unlucky that obviously the Raven student had gone up to 3 with a spell, and he didn't have a second spell to be able to buff it anymore. But we see the Kaiser come in here, accelerated, scores an extra point there, gets the Conquer, and now we'll trigger Candlelit. Nice sequencing here that he triggers Candlelit first, so he can put a card on top on purpose. And then with the Kaiser Conquer ability, he'll be able to draw that card straight away. So it's just a nice little combo there between the Kaiser and the Candlelit.
Yeah, could almost filter up to 3 cards from that deck if he chooses to do so, or at least draw the ideal card. But looking like he wants to put 2 of those cards down at the bottom of the deck, drawing a fresh one from the Kaiser ability. So didn't like what he saw, draws a new one. Sentry thinking about retreating it because most likely will be going down to that Noxus Hopeful. So does retreat it for now. And we were talking about this before the break. Candlelight Sanctum, really good tech card, but something like Reaver's Row feels so nice on Kaiser, able to keep her protected when you have this situation where you have the Conqueror, but you don't really have too many runes to protect her. So we'll see how it plays out. But perhaps Jibbs is just valuing the information, digging deeper into his deck, because I know Reaver's Row, like you said, is such a good battlefield, isn't it?
Yeah, I think you're exactly right. I know when I play Kaiser, I love my Reaver's Row. Interesting tech here, plays the Cleave first to try and obviously play around this potential Hextech Ray. I think he's still quite happy to take this trade. But yeah, I think Reaver's Row is so nice because you just retreat this Kaiser and you're in no danger. I think one thing I could say is it does become a bit of a gamble because if your opponent can get onto Reaver's Row first, it feels really bad. But if you get on Reaver's Row first, it feels great. Interesting here, we see the double cleave into the double Hextech Ray. Now going blow for blow here. So we now have the 10 Might Hopeful. We're about to see a 3rd cleave come down. Surely not. Tapping 2. Oh, smoke screen. Nice. I think it's interesting. It's amazing to see when people commit so much to one combat. But there was certainly willing to go for blows there. Still got 4 runes up for the Kaiser for Sleepless. So it'll be interesting. We know he has that Kaiser Survivor in hand, so he could potentially play that, or play it a bit safer, leave the runes up if he's potentially got any more reaction. But we can see he's only got 3 cards in hand, and we know one of them's the Kaiser. So not too many options here.
Yeah, at least one of them is a Kaiser Survivor, like you said. So good option there. Able to play it out at least for, at least just to base for now. Able to take advantage of it the following turn, but decides to go for a Yordle, just recurring more cards because he is a little low, seeing more of his options. But both players, surprising enough, that little Riftbound ping pong, if you will, that occurred, 2 Hex Rays, 2 Cleaves, and then a smoke screen to finalize it, cost them a lot of resources. But that tells you how much they value the tempo on board, this point tempo, because right now Jibbs is ahead, so desperately is what Sleepless desperately needed that point, and if not, Jibbs would have got very carried away, going up to 4 from the hold, 5 from this conquer. So I think you had to do what you had to do, and Sleepless played it well, the best he could so far.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. I think it was certainly worthwhile. Interesting here, so we see him retake the Targon, so he's going to get 2 runes back at the end of the turn. We do have this Noctis Hopeful fairly exposed. We know they've got 1 rune up, but we've seen 2 Cleaves come down. We've seen a smoke screen already. I'm wondering if Jibbs potentially has any sort of Darius plays here, because this would be an excellent spot to get the Darius Trifarian out, ready him with his ability. We do see 5. We do see the Darius right there. And then we just need to see a second card come down in order to ready it. Or are we just going to pass? Oh, we're just going to pass. Okay, so just developing the Darius. Can be a little tricky with two runes up. Maybe we just didn't have anything we could play in that spot. But yeah, at least it's there for next turn. It's not easy for 5 might for a Kaiser to deal with. You don't really want to like double Falling Star. For example, that always feels pretty bad. It's too strong for things like Void Seeker. So I think it's a good... it's an interesting one. We may actually be seeing the double Falling Star here. Oh.
Yeah, gotta do what you gotta do. That's your second Falling Star of game number 1. So knowing that you probably won't see another one down the road because it should be in the deck. If it's in the hand, I'll be very impressed. But Darius goes down. We were talking about keeping the tempo in your favor. You didn't get to hold, but now your opponent, sitting with just 3 cards in hand, doesn't have that big Darius to follow up to earn them more points going forward. With Yordle, you still have 2 might unit versus the 1 might unit. You have to be a little bit careful. Jibbs could have something like a Stupefy in hand, but potentially just trying to take care of it. But no, going with a higher might unit with a Kaiser 4-1, this should be more than enough. You conquer, draw 1, and you ready 2 runes. This Targon Peak really paying off for the battle selection for Sleepless.
Yeah, absolutely. You can see how the game can swing so quickly. We thought the Darius was in a great spot there, and then suddenly it all starts to go awry with that double Falling Star. He's only seen the top, 10 cards, 13 cards of his deck, so that has got to feel bad for Jibbs, but I think that is one of the risks of just developing a Darius and leaving it in base. You don't really get any of the benefits out of it, whereas if you play Darius and then you have a second card like a Cleave, that can be such an impactful swing. But yeah, it doesn't feel great now. It's amazing how the tempo sort of swings. We do see him paying 5. We see another Darius. Okay, that explains more why the ordering of the first instance. And we see a Falling Star of his own come down. I believe he's going to take out the Yordle and the Student here, which is always great. If you can kill 2 units, it always feels very good. This will also ready the Darius, so you could potentially go in and fight the Kaiser, or even just retake Candlelit Sanctum.
Yeah, I'm curious to see if he's going to try to save the Raven Bloom, but with just 2 cards in hand, how much can you really do? Darius goes up to 7 from that ready ability. Definitely more than enough to take care of the Kaiser, unless one of those 2 cards is indeed a smoke screen. That would be the ideal play. We saw him use 1 smoke screen, so we know he's running the deck. It will be a Hex Ray, so an even trade, virtually 4-4 is what's going to be happening. So no one conquering, no one holding. This game is intense, back-to-back removals, but one of them has a board, and I say a board but it's just a lonely hopeful trying to do the best it can.
Yeah, I think that was a really interesting play. I think this is always the risk with these 4 mights against 7 mights. There's a lot of 3 damage spells that can come in and mean you end up tying the combat. I think it's probably one of the more complicated concepts for some players to understand, is that obviously you have might and you have health, but you can deal damage without reducing might, unlike things like Smoke Screen that just reduce might altogether. But really interesting. We see another Hopeful come down, and we're straight into the Watcher. We are in the end game as it is for Jibbs here playing this Watcher.
Yeah, and it seems like Jibbs making full use of that Candlelit. I think this is his third Candlelit trigger, so filtering through his deck well, kind of setting up his draws, or yes, exactly, setting up his draws, which could be why he has a teeny bit more card advantage than his opponent, potentially able to get cards that replace themselves. So now it's back over, and speaking of cards that replace themselves, the Void Seeker coming onto the Watcher, doing the 4 damage so far. So if he has something like a Ray, could finish off the 7 might unit here.
Very nice. Yeah, great play there. I think that's what's so good about a lot of Kaiser. Is that it feels like half the spells in the deck draw you cards when you run things like Void Seeker, things like Stupefy, and it's just so nice to be drawing, replacing all these cards as you're playing them. I think obviously things like Hextech Ray and Falling Star don't, but in their own right, they are very powerful spells. But yeah, great way to deal with the Watcher there. Really good for it. Just puts more pressure on Jibbs to answer. We do see Sleepless just with 1 card in hand, Jibbs with 3, so both players a little bit low on resources. So I think what they do have in hand will be really, really impactful here.
Yeah, right now board control favoring Sleepless, but not by very much. But Jibbs has that hand advantage. If he has another Watcher, he could go ahead and do that. He does have a total of 8 runes to accelerate the Watcher. Try to take down the Hopeful one more time, but that seems like a little bit... I mean, it doesn't seem like a bad play because you don't let Sleepless get up to 6 total points. You need to accelerate something. We saw Jibbs go through 2 Dariuses so far, at least 1 Kaiser Survivor, so there's not a lot of options. I can't remember earlier in the tournament, there was a Legion rearguard running around one of these Kaiser lists. That could at least get you something like Targon's Peak just to put points on the board, but you're letting your opponent get that hold point. So this is a really impactful turn. Do you let your opponent hold, or do you have something in hand to try to take that away from him?
Yeah, I think it's definitely feels like a big turn here. We've seen the sort of the pendulum swing a lot throughout this game already in terms of who had more tempo, but it feels like Sleepless at the moment with this unit on board. 4 might not easiest to deal with. We've seen him play a Void Seeker already. I think it's a great shout out with the Legion Rearguard. That's been some new tech that we're seeing in a few different decks, and I think one of the biggest reasons that I've heard about it is the fact that some decks will sideboard unchecked power, which obviously exhausts all your units. But the key is if you have a Darius on your board and you play unchecked power and then you accelerate a Rearguard, you will get both the Rearguard and the Darius, and you can score 2 points. But another big swing. So we see a double Falling Star on the Hopeful, followed by his own Hopeful coming in here. And that's the top deck Draven. We were talking about this actually in the break, how this is another sort of a new addition to these Kaiser decks, but it's a really cool one to see because you see him come in here at 8 might. That is so difficult for Kaiser to deal with. We've seen historically that sort of thing, Dazzling Aurora decks are difficult for Kaiser because a lot of the spells are very good at clearing the smaller units, but when it comes to the big stuff, Kaiser can struggle. So you've got this 8 might Draven. If he gets a Conquer, he'll go to 9 might. So hugely impactful swing here with this card. It's going to be very difficult for Jibbs to deal with.
Yeah, especially considering the fact that he already spent 2 Falling Stars, because Falling Star could have done up to 6 damage on that Draven, just needing one more combat trick, something like a Hex Ray to do the remaining damage. Draven, as you mentioned, looking to conquer for 1, going up to 9, and then that unit might just hold his way to victory. I say that, but Jibbs currently with the point tempo 6-5. If he throw it back without conquering, I say that, but that looks like a lot of runes and a Watcher.
Watcher comes down very nice. So yeah, this will be a double conquer here, go to 7. And then yeah, it's going to be a tall order for Jibbs to be able to deal with this board. There is a lot going on here for him to deal with. Even if he has his own Watcher, it won't be enough because Draven's sitting at 9 now. Good sequencing there, goes in with the Watcher first to add the point for Draven. But assuming this conquer goes through, which I imagine it might do. I'm trying to think what price could have here to answer this.
There's 3 cards in hand, potentially something like a Smokescreen Void Seeker Ray. That might get it done.
For, I think. Okay, interesting to see the retreat. Okay, so it channels the extra room, which can help. But then we do see Sleepless go to 7 here, so that could be very, very powerful. And the Draven will go up to 10, which is a lot to deal with. And we do see another Candlelit trigger.
Oh, there we go. Jibbs seeing the writing on the walls. Yep, we're going to be conceding that game 1.
And speaking of battlefields, we do see the double Dreaming Tree in this game.
Oh man, I don't think anyone is going down on hand size this game.
Yeah, we saw both players, with 1 to 3 cards for most of the game. I don't think that will be the case this time around. Both players running Cleave that we saw, both players running Retreat. Both great ways to trigger the Dreaming Tree. So I'm sure we're going to see some much bigger hand sizes this game, and leading to probably most players having the answers that they might need.
Yeah, and of course, Jibbs will be on the play again. He was on the play game 1. Gonna decide to be play one more time, as you do tend to have a slight bit of an advantage. That even goes to show how impressive Sleepless win was, playing it perfectly in that first game of these grand finals. Let's see if he's able to do it again, or is Kaiser on Jibbs' side gonna bring us to that infamous game 3 situation. Of course, we'll find out at the end of this round 2, or game 2 rather. Throws it over with something like maybe a Void Seeker online, but it kind of doesn't feel too good to send it into Sentry's direction, does it?
No, that feels bad. I think we were discussing it. You really, really want to find a 2-drop. That is now back-to-back games that Sleepless has managed to miss. Playing a unit on his first turn. So last game it was he went first. This game he went second, and he's missed in both. And going second in Kaiser, it's even more unlikely, because not only do you typically run 3 students, 3 sort of sentries, and maybe a Poro, you also then will run 3 lecturing Yordles as your 3-drop. So I think missing going second is really kind of rough for Sleepless. But he did win last game without the early drop, so you never know. He probably means he's got a lot of spells, a lot of answers in his hand already. So it'll be interesting to see the impact that those are going to have.
I'm leaning towards the fact that he probably has a whole lot of spells in hand. And speaking of Yordle, he does get to play it on Jibbs' side, so get that +1 draw. Sentry deciding which Dreaming Tree does he want to go for. Each battlefield pretty much identical. And does an interesting decision to not go for early point lead. How do you feel about that, and why would he perhaps do that? Do you think he values just having board rather than points in a draw? That's interesting, isn't it?
Yeah, that is very interesting. I would understand it if it was a unit like a student. I think that's something you want to protect. A Watchful Sentry, sort of, with the death knell, its main purpose is to die and draw you a card. I think you're pretty happy just to send him in. It's not like the one might is going to be able to contest anything later. So I find that a very interesting play. He also just exhausted it in base for some reason. So I think, yeah, that's certainly a curious play. I think I would understand it a lot more if it was a unit you kind of cared about, like a student or maybe even a Pouty Poro. But yeah, for something like a Sentry that you're pretty, no one's overly attached to a Watchful Sentry. So I'm kind of surprised we don't see it get sent in there just to score a point and get on the board. I think it's really nice to have that point tempo. I think you now potentially let Kaiser play out something. We see, this is what I was talking about during the sideboarding. We see the Sprite Mother come in, and we see how impactful this can be. So the Sprite's going to move in first. Are we going to see anything come out from Jibbs' side? He looks ready to go.
Yeah, he had the finger on the trigger there.
He was ready to go straight away, and we're going to see a 1-drop into a Stupefy.
Oh, and I like this. And Stupefy is indeed a reaction. Able to get the +1, +2 draw from the Dreaming Tree. So getting some value. Even though you don't get the Conquer point, you get plenty card advantage. Now does decide to push forward the Sentry. Actually, wait. He's at 2 points. Oh, no. He did 2 points, of course, with both of these units. Yeah,
that's a good play. I think I like that from Sleepless. I think you're quite happy to give up a Stupefy for a draw too. I think that's a crazy combo. I know, like, we've obviously a bit unorthodox, giving your own unit -1 might, but if it's going to die anyway, I think that's a nice play just to get bigger hand size and be able to see more of the deck. I know having played Dreaming Tree is like when you're playing the green decks like Yi or Ari, it feels amazing when you like disciplines a +2 might draw 2. That is just that feels really, really good. But I think it's a good play. We now see Sleepless with 6 cards in hand versus Jibbs having just 5. So certainly interesting. Jibbs yet to play any actual cards this turn. He's tapping 2 for something like a student. That's good. And are we going to see potentially hopefully we're recycling a blue to hide.
Oh, that's different. We don't get to see too many hidden cards. So Jibbs coming out with some spies. What can that possibly be? The first things that come to mind, I mean, Blast.
I've got an idea, but I don't want to give it away because I've seen the deck list.
Okay, I'll take the guesses then. I'm thinking just to get more card advantage, something like Consult the Past could be nice. Uh,
It could be that. I think, yeah, we don't see a lot of it hidden with blue. I mean, yellow's got some nice options with things like Hidden Blade. Obviously, Teemo being purple has got a ton of options. We also, yeah, so it'd be certainly interesting to see which one this is and when it comes out. But we do see the Falling Star come down now, targeting, interesting, the Student and the Sentry. This obviously will then trigger, you have to then reveal the hidden card, because you can't have the hidden card if you don't control the battlefield. So this will, should trigger the hidden card here from Jibbs, and it is, and you were spot on, it is the Consult the Past. So we get the nice draw 2 here. So let's see, potentially we could maybe find an answer to save this Student. We are at 3, so we just need to play 1 spell, and very nice. That's a great answer.
oh yeah.
Now, I believe we drew off of the Consult the Past, but
It could have been those 2 cards on the right hand side. I didn't take a
yeah,
look.
exactly.
Mm-hmm,
Because not only does that save the Student, it means the Sprite Mother would now trade with the Yordle. So you kill 2 birds with 1 stone, as they say. You save 1, get the other. We are seeing the Stupefy come down on the Student now, because it has effectively got 3 damage procs on it. And we'll see the reply Stupefy come back on the Sprite Mother. So the Student is now on 5
4, I
life.
believe.
It should be 4, but effectively 1 health is the key.
Yeah.
Is the key aspect. But I don't think there'll be anything else that can hit them unless we see another Falling Star come down. But you would have to pay the full cost of it as Sleepless, which would never feels great. But
Yeah.
still got 3 runes up. We have got the 1 Might Sprite Mother that we could potentially take the other Dreaming Tree with, so at least score a point and get on the board. And then the Student has to try and answer that next turn. So I quite like that as a play. You can't really do much against this Lecturing Yordle now that the Sprite Mother's on 1 Might. It won't have too much of an impact. So I like this play for now.
Yeah, I think the Consult the Past ended up paying so much dividends. If he did indeed draw the Stupefy, who knows, the Stupefy drawing could have drawn into that second Stupefy. So doing so much work. Cleave trying to do what he can to try to conquer that Dreaming Tree on Yordle's hold or Yordle's control. So gets the Cleave, does trigger the Dreaming Tree on that side. So goes up to 4 total might. Is that going to be another combat trick? We saw 2 Stupefies, but it's going to be a retreat to trigger his own Dreaming Tree. So both players are going to draw. There's a bit of ordering here, but at the end of the day, they both get 1 draw. Yordle comes back for a potential another draw on his follow-up turn, but it does come at the expense of Sleepless' very first point. So 1 point up. Sprite Mother doesn't have temporary like his son, we'll call it. So so able to stick around, but Ravenbloom could do easy work on that Sprite Mother.
Yes, the only thing we've missed is I'm conscious that Jibbs hasn't channeled a rune from Retreat.
Oh, I swear I saw it, but perhaps he didn't. Are you sure?
I'm not positive. I thought he maybe didn't, but maybe he did. Maybe I just missed it. I thought he must have. Oh, there we go.
No, there it is. He's saying, no, it's the Grand Finals.
It's because his 5th rune was still ready, so I think he would have done it he would have put it in the right spot. So I looked at it and thought he probably hasn't.
Yeah.
But that's fine. They seem to have caught it. I'm sure that like you say, we're still quite early into the game, so I don't think we're being too nitpicky with these things, especially on TCS. And you're in the finals. It's a nerve-wracking experience for anyone. But yeah, it seems to be all good there. So we do see another Cleave come down, and another Dreaming Tree draw. You see, compared to last game, Jibbs' hand size, 1, 2, 3, 4, I think he's playing with 8 cards in hand now. Yeah. Considering last game he spent the majority of the game on 3. It really can see how big a difference between all the cards that replace themselves like Lecturing Yordles, and then you add on top the things like the Retreats and the Cleaves. We've seen a lot of card draw already this game, which is really, really cool to see. It's nice to see when players have a lot of options. It's never a good feeling when you're sat there not being able to draw all the cards you need, but yeah, you don't have that issue when you're playing Dreaming Trees. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, especially considering double Dreaming Tree, and didn't want to, or doesn't even have the tools available since he's completely tapped out. So the Sprite Mother going down. Ravenbloom does get the Conquer, going up to 3 points, so spreading the margin in that points a little bit further along on Jibbs' side. See what else he tries to develop on this board, since he has so many cards to work with. 4 runes remaining. He has the Yordle. I wouldn't be surprised to see something like a Noxus Hopeful following that up. That'll be really well done. He could also just send out the Kaiser, but keep in mind that's going to be completely tapped out. So goes for the better play, sends the Hopeful, thinking about backing up the Ravenbloom, and not too bad. That way Pouty Pora with a Cleave it might have to do a little bit more than just that, but taking it back, okay, he's
The
thinking.
hopeful is flying right now. Yeah, we're trying to salvage that. Interesting play. I think I like that. You get more bodies on the board. I think personally I quite like going into base, trying to reconquer. The only thing that would have lent me potentially towards playing out the Kaiser was it's great to be on even point tempo. I think, if you play the Kaiser there, you conquer the other Dream Tree, you draw a card because of the Kaiser, and you go to 4. So it always feels great to be on the even point tempo. But I think developing here, having a lot of bodies to go in with next turn, and you'll still have the Kaiser if you need it as well. So I think both work really nicely. Some really good play here, so it'll be cool to see what we do. We then passing back over to Sleepless. Slightly less cards in hand, but still a very healthy hand size. He's got 6 cards at the moment. 7 runes up, so we're not going to see anything like a Watcher just yet. But it will be interesting to see what we do. We are seeing that should be a falling star. It is indeed, so we will be targeting the Student and the Yordle. So this is a nice potential chance here. Will we see any reaction from Jibbs with his 2 runes? Doesn't look like it. He's quite happy just to let that one go through.
Yeah, and I'm surprised. It looks like he doesn't have any more stupefies, or else he would have targeted the hopeful there. So I think they're all out of stupefies. I believe it was 2 apiece, wasn't it? I'm pretty sure we saw at least 2 from Jibbs' side, 1 from at least Sleepless side. But else he would have used it for the hopeful.
Been through a lot.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to do here. I assume we're taking a battle either of the Dreamy Trees with this Poro here. And then we'll have 5 runes left up. You could potentially accelerate the Kaiser. I don't like that as much when you're staring at a Noxus Hopeful, because you basically know your Kaiser is going to die. So it'll be interesting to see what we do here. We are doing 4 and a blue. That is another Sprite Mother. So
wow.
Just as I was saying, it can be nice to go more low to the ground. I think this is really good here. You can potentially come in. And it's just difficult to deal with, because as the Kaiser player, if you've got something like a Hopeful, you don't really want to move in case they have a Hextech Ray or a Stupefy, then you're trading, which feels bad. So I think this is a really nice play, just to make life difficult for Jibbs this turn, depending on what he's got to do. One thing about Jibbs is he's very healthy on runes. We see he's currently sitting on 10, whereas Sleepless is all the way down at 5. So I think the cost, you are seeing the cost of playing things like the Sprite Mother, because obviously Kaiser's ability is fantastic when it comes to playing spells, but it is no help when it comes to playing units like the Sprite Mother. So it does equal some more recycling, but I think it's still a really good tempo play.
Yeah, you're right. We haven't seen too many things like Retreat coming out from Sleepless side. That's why there could be a big difference in those runes. Of course, the Falling Stars bringing them down a bit in that rune department, of course. But Jibbs seems to be a bit in the driver's seat. He has full advantage in rune economy and card economy, everything you could think about. Even has a stronger board presence as it stands, as well as the points. So as we said, he is in the driver's seat. But we saw what Sleepless did in game 1. It felt like he kind of came back from behind and did a bit of a reverse sweep, if you will. So perhaps still in the books for Sleepless. I never want to count him out. But Jibbs looking like he has the tools. A double Dreaming Tree, taking full advantage of it this game. Gonna look for perhaps a Darius or an accelerated Kaiser, and it will be that accelerated, looking to take down the Sprite. 3 might to the 4. Do you have at least, you have to have something like a Cleave, but ooh, the tech card coming out for Jibbs, the Orb of Regret. It's basically a Stupefy in a gear version. You get to do it every single turn, so -1 might when you exhaust it. So 2 to 4, making it a little bit more difficult for something, a little bit more difficult for the Sprite to hold. Does get the Conquer, so up to 4, narrowing the margins down and almost ending this game too. Just 3 more points away from that game point.
Yeah, it's looking really, really good here for Jibbs to tie up the series and take us to a big game 3 in the finals. I think the biggest issue you can see here is that we've got 7 runes. So I think this would be a turn where Watcher would make a massive impact in terms of taking both battlefields back, but unfortunately we are just 1 rune short from potentially being able to do that. We are going to see the Cleave come through to try and take on the Kaiser. Jibbs is sat here with 2 runes up, so he could potentially have an answer of his own. Let's see if anything comes through.
Yeah, it could have.
Like another Retreat would be great. We're seeing 2. Ooh, green, very nice. Have we got another answer on the side of Sleepless, or is this just going to be a trade? Because this could be a real sort of nail in the coffin for this game too if this combat fails, because then you're potentially holding 2 more points, and we'll go to 7 for Jibbs. So yeah, this is a crucial fight. We saw last game that both players were really willing to throw a lot of spells at one combat with the 2 Stupefies, the 2 Cleaves. Let's see if we see something similar here.
Yeah, it could be tricky because I have a funny feeling that he wanted to get off of Darius, so he played one cleave, so he knows if he plays another card, Darius won't be entering ready, so has to do what he has to do. Goes for the Void Seeker, has to push, as you said, doesn't want to give Jibbs, Kai'Sa any more points, so Conquer's up to 4 themselves, but now you don't have any runes available for something like a follow of Darius or a Kai'Sa, but goes for 3 on the Yordo, and you're completely tapped out this turn. So Jibbs with straightforward math, the Sprite Mother only has 3 might to deal with. You have the Orb of Regret. He didn't end up using it now. The Cleave, what almost seemed like he chose the Sprite Mother, but of course Pouty Poor receiving the Cleave. You get the +1 draw, going up to 5. As we said, straightforward math. There's no combat tricks on Sleepless side, so does Conquer up to 6 point. And ooh, the Time Warp to hold 6 to 7 to 8. Well done. Jibbs will indeed bring us to that finale, game 3 of our grand finals for this weekly tournament. Well done.
Yeah, awesome play there. Really nice. Ties up the series. I think everyone kind of knows about Time Warp by now, but I think it's still such a cool card. It has so many good uses, but nothing better than that. With things like the Cleave, it makes attacking very useful, and things like Stupefy as well, whereas there isn't many of those, it doesn't have any of those buff spells that are fundamentally the core reason why the green decks are able to hold so efficiently. So very interesting battlefield choice. Obviously it served him well till this point. So let's see if it can take him over the line.
Yeah, I know, and I'm pretty confident this battlefield selection isn't for the mirror match. It's almost for everything else except their mirror match, specifically made for the Dazzling Aurora matchup when you know their units aren't going to be played out rather early. So if you're able to get a unit nice and early onto start to peak, recurring value each and every hold. So I could understand why bringing it out is important in that main border. Having those 3 battlefields be one of those being start to peak. But in this specific situation, at the very least, he can look forward to his opponent having a beneficial battlefield for himself. The Reaver's Row, whoever gets on top of that is going to be benefiting. And so far, it looks like Sleepless with that Kai'Sa Survivor going to get full use of it, drawing 1 and then able to retreat and keep it safe. If Jibbs doesn't have something like a Void Seeker, of course. So we will see. These guys are in a game 3 situation. They want to win the grand finals. Who is going to take it all the way? These guys are just starting out to get their curves going. But let's see what Jibbs has for this 5-rune turn. It looks like he's only hit Fury runes so far.
Yeah, very weird opener. I think both players just instantly passing the first two turns, which is I was talking earlier about how important it is to have early tempo. We've not seen a lot of early tempo from either player, which I guess makes it a slower night. Jibbs just passing it back again by the looks of it. Did I read that correctly, or did I miss something?
Oh, he
yeah,
did.
He's just passed it back 5 runes up. I think that's interesting. That feels like a great spot to potentially bring out the Kai'Sa Survivor and take over Reavers. I think then you're only weak to a Void Seeker. If the Kai'Sa tries to fight you, you can just retreat. But this feels like it's giving up a lot of tempo. You've got to assume that he probably has a Void Seeker of his own. That feels like one of the main reasons you would like to play this way. Let's see if... Okay, we
saying if you're not going to play anything, I'm going to let you waste that turn effectively.
Yeah, that's got to feel bad for Jibbs. I think that's a good move. I'm sure he's got a Void Seeker in hand, or it was just a great bluff. But yeah, really interesting. I think if Sleepless had something like a retreat for his last rune there, that would have been the reason to go forward. I think at that point you do move up the Kai'Sa, then you retreat it, you ready the Darius, and then you score a point anyway. Obviously, I'm guessing that probably wasn't the case from his hand. But yeah, really interesting. Very slow start, which is not what we typically see from this Kai'Sa. I think one of the reasons Kai'Sa's been so dominant is the tempo she can generate with being able to play the cheap spells without recycling and using early drops to sort of gain advantages. So yeah, very different type of game here. Obviously, both players with sort of slow start, so it evens out. So it looks like we're still in for a nice close game. I think there are some spots where this could be in a very bad spot already. But no, it looks okay so far. We are seeing the Stupefy come down, so the Kai'Sa will go down to 3, potentially lining up for something like a Falling Star.
Yeah. I'm wondering though, does he want to commit to 2 Falling Stars? But no, goes for the accelerated Kai'Sa Survivor onto Reaver's Row, knowing that he doesn't have something like Void Seeker. Like Jibbs was kind of was kind of telegraphing this previous turn. So does get the conquer point, first point of this game 3, keeping it nice and safe, being on Reaver's row. I say that, but of course Sleepless Kaiser could indeed have a Void Seeker of her own, but testing the waters first, gonna be sending in her own Kaiser, doesn't want to deal with any kind of cleave shenanigans, so gonna be retreating now. Gets the conquer point over to Sleepless. Darius on the start tip, will he get it? There's only one rune at the ready for Jibbs, so does go up to 2 points himself. But the thing is, how is he going to keep that Darius kind of protected? Does it really matter at this point? Because he's trying to get the point tempo advantage, which he kind of solidified it right now.
Yeah, it's very interesting plays here all around. You see the Jibbs retreat, so I'm kind of curious why we about the Stupefy last turn. I'm guessing it was just to cycle the hand and hopefully see a better option. So we see, given how slow the starts have been, both players have rather large hands. I mean, Jibbs is sitting there with 8 cards, Sleepless currently with 7. So they still have, they've still got big cards, big hands, which obviously means they maybe don't have the most useful cards, or maybe they just have a lot of the top end. I mean, we know, obviously, if we saw from Jibbs last game that he's playing Time Warp, we've seen the Watchers, so there is still potential just to, by chance draw a very high cost hand.
Yeah.
Which would give a slow start to the game, but it'll be certainly interesting to see. I think this is a really key turn from Jibbs. You don't want Sleepless holding both battlefields to go to 4. So let's see if he's got any answers of his own.
Let's see, because he could do something as simple as a cleave on his own Kaiser to try to take down the Darius. You know you're not going to be able to take down the Kaiser with that Reaver's Row, so might as well try to get a kill when you can. But what do I know? It looks like he's leaning towards the Reaver's Row, making sure a little bit of a bluff, but probably not so much of a bluff. If he's going to stay, it's going to cost him, but no, doesn't want to take that and goes ahead and retreats, gets a draw, gets more information before doing anything this turn. Has 8 runes to work with, so something like an accelerated watcher is available. Is it too ideal? I don't think so. I think it's going to be a little bit too early to deploy a watcher. Probably something like a Darius of her own could be the ideal turn that Jibbs needs to try to take back some points, take down the Darius on top of that, and then see where it goes going forward. If you're able to leave a couple runes available for something like a Stupefy or a Ray, because I don't think too many spells have been played this game 3 just yet, right?
Yeah, we've not seen much. I mean, I think it's literally just this one Stupefy and trash, and then no trash for Sleepless. So we've not seen a sync. We've seen one spell we played this entire game. I think it was an interesting decision from Sleepless to retreat there, because you've got 5 runes up. So whether you're saying I don't have a Void Seeker or I don't have a Cleave, but definitely interesting. Some real mind games going on here, trying to bluff about what each other has in their hand. We do see the Darius come down here. Are we going to see a second card to ready the Darius come in?
Yeah, most likely will be a second card, but has to be mindful because that means you're only going to have at least maybe at the most 1 rune, because you can't play something that costs 1 if it's not Stupefy or Cleave, and you don't really need a Cleave to get over this Darius unless you're anticipating a spell, but goes for a Stupefy onto the opposing Kaiser. Going to be triggering the Darius, going up to 7. Is 7 going to be enough? Oh, look at the hand. I love that tabletop simulator. You can see when they move, because he kind of gave a little bit of a sign that he could have a combat trick in mind, and it looks like it's going to be a Ray, so bringing it down to effectively 4 HP, looking for the trade. Unless Jibbs has something like a smoke screen we saw in the past, he does have 2 runes available, and does he want to use it right here, right now to guarantee the conquer, or does he not value that much? I'm trying to think about it. Is it the perfect time to use it if he has it? Because there's plenty cards to work with. I'm assuming he might have it, though. We'll see.
Yeah, definitely interesting here. Real mind games, because you've still got 4 runes up. Okay, so he does spend 1. So what it does mean is he doesn't have enough to Falling Star this turn. Because I did think one of the plays he could have done was he'd got the Kaiser and the Student on 3 might in base. So you could potentially Falling Star both of those. But clearly we are committing to this Darius combat, really trying to, this will be one of those big swings. I think we still see 4 runes up for Sleepless, so whether we see something, we see a clear of his own,
just to get to 7, okay, just for the trade.
We still trade, so yeah, so we both players burn a cleave, and both Dariuses will trade out, so the start at peak will remain empty, going into Sleepless's next turn, and this is again does feel like we're in a very good position for Sleepless. I think you can conquer if you'd like to here, either with the Student or the Kaiser. You've got a lot of runes to work with. We've hit that 9 rune breakpoint, so we do have potentially Watcher if we wanted it. We know there are students in the deck after the last game, also Sprite Mothers after last game, but we do see the retreat from the Dreaming Tree, giving Sleepless another draw through the Kaiser ability. So it'd be interesting to see what we do here. We've got the Student in base, which we are seeming to be, yeah, there we go. So the Student comes in and takes start at peak. So we go up to 4 points. So we've got that really nice even point break. We're on that even point tempo. So that's what I'm trying to say. So some really good stuff there. And then, yeah, it'll be interesting to see what we do. We've still got a lot of runes to work with if we're Sleepless. It'll be interesting to see how many we want to leave up for reaction spells for next turn. So we'll see. I think it's pretty clear no one has a Void Seeker. I think these Kaisers have been sitting on Reaver's Row pretty safely.
Yeah.
Normally, one of the most common things is with Kaiser is you just walk straight into a Void Seeker because it's that perfect 4 might. So very interesting to see that now that neither of those have come down. I think if you were trying to, sort of try and figure out what your opponent has and doesn't have, it's unlikely they have a Void Seeker. I feel like we would have seen it by now if they did.
Yeah, especially considering he pushed up first. He most likely would have done the Void Seeker before, but a falling star on a single unit doesn't feel too good. But Jibbs going with the retreat, so falling star all for nothing. That feels good if you're on Jibbs' side at the very least. So falling star going down for very, very to nil value. And a retreat on the Raven Bloom just to keep just to channel one of their own. Get the Raven Bloom back. It's just a 2-cost unit, so you're able to play it this turn. Potentially something like a Hopeful if you want to be completely exhausted out of runes. So a Hopeful, follow that up with a Raven. Oh, follow that up with a double Hopeful. So good board development. So I didn't even notice the 2 runes and the backline. So I was talking the big board development for Sleepless. This is looking good. Even if falling star doesn't feel too ideal, that's a lot of 4 might units. You can stupefy 1, maybe even 2, but you're not going to get an easy board clear with these creatures.
Yeah, so we'd finally see the Void Seeker come out. I think now that you know Sleepless is fully tapped, you feel more confident doing that. Still got 7 runes to play with. It's a slightly awkward number for the Kaiser. But potentially something, this is really where a Cathian Rain would feel really good, because you'd be a complete board wipe of everything Sleepless is doing, or you try and develop some stuff of your own to set up for a counter push next turn. But the thing is, you really don't want Sleepless potentially scoring both next turn and going to 6, because then you are just 1 turn away from losing with things like Watchers in the deck. Even a potential Time Warp could come out if he takes both battlefields like we saw Jibbs do last game. So very scary moment here. Really wants to try and find a good answer for some of these units.
Yeah, he has to have a good answer because he knows there's a lot of units coming on this follow-up turn and a lot of might as well. So what can you do? I mean, there's only so many accelerate units you have available at your disposal. Things like Watcher at your disposal. Things like Watcher, things like Darius, things like the Kaiser Survivor. So let's see if any of those are in the current hand for Jibbs. I mean, you're only going to be able to conquer 1 battlefield, it looks like. You have 2, 4, 6, 7 runes available, so that's with 2. Perhaps thinking about something of a Hopeful of their own. No, there was 4, so maybe... Jibbs didn't have... I was just going to say, Jibbs wasn't the player that had the Sprite Mothers, so we know it's not from his side of things. Goes with the Yordle, trying to find more answers. 4 runes remaining, so it could be the Hopeful now. So trying to catch up a little bit in board presence for Jibbs. Can he at least maybe get 1 more? Does he want to save these runes for a Stupefy or not a Stupefy? It won't be doing too much since you don't have any units on the board, but something like a Ray. That's about all you can do if you do want to spend it on the Raven Bloom, which is a little risky. So I like this. I think if you just exhaust out, ideally another Hopeful to try to match the board state could be ideal.
Yeah, I think a Student's good though, getting development. This is a scary moment because we are a Time Warp away from this being GG.
Right.
We did a quick move in there from both Hopefuls. Are we going to see it? Oh, he's highlighting everything. I think this might be it.
Uh-oh, the time warp giving... Yeah.
Oh.
Jibbs did it to him in game 2, and now Sleepless.
Time warp on his end as well.
Right.
But yeah, this just shows me we saw 2 out of 3 games there decided by Time Warp. It's such a game warping card, if you'll
Right.
pardon the pun. But yeah, it's a really clean gameplay that I think we saw slightly. I don't think either player necessarily had their the preferred hands at times. We saw a very slow start in that game, but yeah, Sleepless just able to come out and get the win. I think some really impressive gameplay there. Had a lot of tempo with units like the Hopefuls, the Dariuses, the Kaisers, and was just able to sort of overrun Jibbs, sadly. But yeah, what a great final.